So in the slides yesterday, I promised we would talk about organizing a project a little bit, and then we didn't actually do it because we ran out of time. So let's do it just a little right now. We like to avoid global variables for a variety of reasons, but everything we've been creating here, except for any variables created inside functions, are global. That's bad. So anybody remember why it's bad? One reason why it's bad? Yeah, Gabby.
If you import a library and they have a variable called that variable, you don't really know which one is going to take priority.
Right. Yep. And we like to make reusable code too, right? We'd like to do everything we can to make sure we could share our code in the end if it were appropriate to do so. So besides conflicting with stuff that we import, it makes it a lot easier for other people to use our stuff if we don't have a whole bunch of global variables, so that they can pull ours into their project, and no matter how sloppy they are with global variables, it doesn't hurt them. So we have lots of different ways we can avoid doing that without making too many changes. First one, I'm going to show you mostly for historical reasons. Since we're using ES6, we don't necessarily need this trick a whole lot, but most JavaScript that's out there is not ES6, so you'll see this thing a lot, and it may seem kind of strange when you see it. So we can wrap the whole thing in a function. Let's do that. Function, an anonymous function. I'm going to indent everything else then. I'm going to highlight all these lines, and then on a Mac, I'm going to hit Command right bracket, Control right bracket on Windows. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you highlight the whole line. In fact, if you don't highlight anything, it'll do the line you're on anyway. Right bracket, right square bracket. So I think actually this is not quite. I didn't indent that quite right. Okay, let's see here. Okay, everything except that. Looks like my indentation was already a little screwed up here. Oh yeah. Handle submit got messed up somewhere along the way. Okay. So then I can put my closing curly brace there. And please indent things in a reasonable way. It's not that much extra work, and it makes it a whole lot easier to read later. So please, do indent stuff the way that people tend to indent things. This is not, my indentation got screwed up somewhere. That to auto format. How did it get off in the first place? That's really odd. Oh, Visual Studio Code. I thought we were friends. Okay, that's actually giving me a little error. Let's not worry about that right this second. So, okay, great. It's all inside a function, which means that creates a new scope. So all these variables that were once global are now local to that function. But are they going to be available? Is any of this... Let's see. What do we have in this JavaScript file now? We have a single function definition, and that's it. So it's going to define this function, and it's never going to run it, right? So none of this stuff is actually going to happen, except that this anonymous function that's never run is going to get created. So we need to run it. So we will wrap all of this in parentheses. We'll wrap the anonymous function in parentheses. That way, we can invoke it with a set of open-close parens at the end. So we're wrapping the entire file in a function and then immediately invoking that function. That way it actually runs. So it still runs all our code, just as it did before, but it just does it inside a function. By wrapping it in a function, we avoid creating global variables. But by immediately running that function, we make sure that all this code really runs and isn't just part of some function definition. So this is called an IIFE, IIFE, immediately invoked function expression. Again, we're not going to use them anymore in this class because we're using ES6, and there are easier ways to achieve this in ES6. But you see them a lot. It is a fairly common strategy for organizing JavaScript files if you want to avoid creating global variables. Yeah.
Would this be similar to jQuery's document.ready?
In some respects. So that is one of the effects of document.ready. Yeah, because you are wrapping everything in a function. But document.ready, the primary purpose there is to wait until the DOM is rendered, which is something we could do. We could do that by actually adding an event listener that listens for the event DOM ready. Or, and here's what we did. We did it the really easy way. And I failed to talk about this when we did it. We put our script at the very bottom of the body instead of like putting it in the head. That way the DOM will be loaded by the time it runs, so we know we're not going to try to run query selector to find something that isn't there yet. So yeah, we kind of achieved the same thing just by using this little trick. Good question though. So this is called an IIFE, immediately invoked function expression. Just know wrapping it in a thing that looks like this achieves what we want. So I'm going to commit this just so that it's in my history so you can look at it if you want to. Wrap everything in an IIFE.